الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أما بعد. So today, getting a little bit more casual with my fan base on the Light TV, because I really am the type of person, I don't write stuff. I speak my mind, I speak from the heart. And today there's just been a couple things I've been thinking about. I don't know in what order I'm going to move through it, but I thought it's better to just let people get a real idea of who I am and how I am. So anyways, the first thing I was thinking about is, you know, the Christians, they love Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, for his miracles. And the Jews, they love Musa alayhi salam, Moses, for his miracles. And I was thinking, like, you know, I have this book by Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah, which is all about the Prophet's miracles, and there's over 30,000 of them. And why, as the Muslims, do we not really know about too many of them? You know, we know of the major ones, he split the moon, Isra wal Miraj, but why are we not informed, and why are we not really passed down all his miracles and all the amazing things he's done, every prophet who had a miracle, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a greater miracle. Musa alayhi salam split the Red Sea, the Prophet split the moon. Isa alayhi salam gave life to the dead, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave life to a tree, made it speak, which is a non-living object to our perspective. Which is the greater miracle, to bring a body back to life, or to bring an object that we don't perceive living to life? Obviously it's the second one. So as I was going through the book and thinking about all these things, it just reminded me about my childhood, kind of, because actually from an early age I had this name. You know, names, I'm also going to touch a little bit on this, but my grandparents and my parents, they named me Umar Headar. And none of my brothers and sisters have a name like this, and none of my brothers and sisters were actually raised by my grandparents. My grandparents, they were in a time in their life, I believe, where they didn't have the stress of poverty or anything to really, you know, focus on as much. So they were in a point of their life where they could really enjoy having a child. In the time when my father was born to them, there was a lot of internal problems and work to do and things going on in that society where you couldn't really be all the way involved with the child the way you should be. Or maybe they were a little bit more grown up and they were at that stage of life where they were ready. But my grandparents always talked the best of me since young. They would tell me I was the best, I could do it, I was special. And, you know, I believed it from about age 4. I believed it more than I should have, because I was going around doing crazy stuff. But it also reminds me, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, how he became a scholar. He wanted to be a singer, I believe, and his mom used to take him, bathe him, put nice perfume on him, sit him on a high place, and she would ask him basic questions. How many fard rakah are in Fajr? And he would say 2. And they're clapping. And they built his confidence and made him feel like somebody. And he went on to be one of the greatest imams of our time, of all time, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. And this shows you the psychology that goes on with raising people and how you deal with your kids, the value of building their confidence, not saying the wrong things to them, and so on and so forth. But anyways, my grandparents built my confidence very, very high. I was very bold and I was young, and very early in my life I wanted to know who I was named after. What is this name? And early in my life I had a small introduction to who Amir al-Mu'mineen Umar ibn Khattab was. And I was thinking, wow, this guy, he's pretty cool. He's a fighter, he's this, that, and I didn't get too much into it. Flash forward into my life, when I was 13, 14, I was getting in a lot of trouble. I ended up getting kicked out of school and had to go to some type of bad camp, which led to more trouble. But anyway, on that journey, my father sent me a book, and it was called Sword of Allah, a biography of the Muslim military history after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away. And I remember I was in that camp and we had access to all kinds of fantasy books, Game of Thrones, Hunger Games, anything you can imagine. And when I had that book, I remember thinking, whoa, this is way more cool. Inside of it were stories of Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu, when he fought the mountain and he cut his throat in one slash. There were stories in detail of the battles and all types of cool things and what kind of swords they had and what horses. And I was thinking, this is awesome. They were going to Egypt, they conquer Egypt, they're going to Persia, they're fighting people, they're breaking swords. And I was thinking, this is too cool. And on my journey, it started kind of here. We have to backtrack a little bit, because before I fell in love with the deen, I fell in love with the people. Like, I used to love Zubair ibn al-Awwam because he was radiallahu an. He was the first to go to battle, and when ayahs of the Quran would come, he was ready to fight. And he was just so amazing in the way they were describing him in battle and his bravery. And in Badr, the angels came down wearing a yellow imama because he wore a yellow imama. And I was thinking, wow, this is awesome. And it actually got to the point where I used to pass this book around to other people there, and they wanted to accept Islam. And over there, I used to pray a little bit, 5 times a day. I only knew like 2 surahs and I was doing them wrong. But I was seeing for the first time in my life what power Islam had, how it unites people, why it's such a strong force. The whole time I was there, months and months and months, I would just do Surah Ikhlas, and I used to say, Qul huwallahu ahad, lam yulid wa lam yulad. The whole time, nobody ever corrected me. But over there, people were taking Shahada. I was giving it. I didn't even know how to give it properly, but I just thought it was crazy. Everyone loved this book. It wasn't because of me. It was because the book was awesome. And today, I also think about that, who our heroes are. You know, at that time, I was looking up to them so much, but it got to the point I didn't have no guider. I didn't have no explanation. I actually went and I changed my name. I made myself a nickname because I knew it's probably a sin to have a name of someone this great. You know, I should become Uzi. This is not a good thing. I'm doing a lot of bad things. I need to stay away from this. I knew that. If someone would have told me, I probably would have done it back then. At the time, I was really passionate. But I think a lot of the problem today, you know? So one thing about me, I had a lot of experience in the West. I've been around celebrities. I've been around boxers. I've been around the lights. I've been around Hollywood. I've seen it all. I've done it all. And one thing about it is that these people are not who you think they are. These celebrities that you guys love, a lot of them are homosexual. A lot of them are insecure. A lot of them, if they don't have jewelry, they don't feel like a man. And if you ever need something, like a car, money, a house, to feel like a man, then you are not a man. A man is somebody who he is himself, with it or without it. If he has money or he doesn't have money, he's the same. If he has the jewelry or the car and he doesn't have it, he's the same person, because it's all about your character, who you are, the weight your name holds, your reputation, how people view you, what you stand for. And a lot of these people, they're miserable. You know, I couldn't believe sometimes meeting my heroes. I'm not going to say names, but I met one of my heroes in boxing. And I just remember thinking, wow, this guy is such a, he's such a cornball. I wish I actually never met him and just idolized him from the side, because it was a huge letdown. And today, with the miracles that I was talking about and with our heroes, it's the powers that be, or the forces against Islam, they want to cover this up. They want you to think Alexander the Great is the greatest conqueror. No, he's not. It's Umar ibn Khattab. Why is our history hard to find? Why is our history being brushed away? Because the people who are against al-Islam, they don't want you to connect with our heroes. Our heroes are great, monumental figures. Today you see people quoting rappers and they're saying a lot of nothing. The quote is not even that good. And you see our heroes, they're saying wisdom. You know, I always think about a few quotes. One of them is from Umar ibn Khattab, where he says, the people who give you lip service, meaning they praise you, they're your executioners. And your true friends are the ones who point out your faults and your weaknesses. And it's just a very deep quote. They're your executioners. They're building you up until the inevitable bad happens to you. And there's so much wisdom and so much rich history. For example, in Hollywood movies, all the time we see a young warrior, and he's fighting a big guy, and he ends up cutting him with the sword in one or two strikes. And it's in Troy, it's in Game of Thrones, and all of this is stolen from Hazrat Ali radiallahu anh. This is his story. And you know, there's a lot of things in Islamic history that is directly stolen and propagated and used the wrong way. For example, think about 300, that movie. They go, the 300 brave warriors, they fight the big force, and then they end up dying. This is actually the story of the Muslims, but they don't die. They win and they conquer that place. The things the Muslims did, if you fall in love with the history, you fall in love with the heroes, it's amazing. And I'm actually grateful things happened the way they did, because I fell in love with the people before I fell in love with the deen aspect of it. And I think it's important for that. You know, we need to have heroes. We cannot have the same heroes as the kafir, as, you know, the non-believers, because if Muslim kids, if Muslim youngsters, if Muslim middle-aged people, they're all looking up to the same person, it's going to be problems, because slowly you're going to see us start copying these people, emulating these people, wanting to be like these people. And we don't want to be anything like these people. It's the whole purpose of sincerity in Surah Kafirun. They will never be us, we will never be them. And being Muslim is a badge of honor. It should be the greatest thing. It's the greatest thing that happened to me. It should be the greatest thing that happened to all of us. You shouldn't be afraid to practice your religion. You shouldn't be afraid to tell people about your religion. The Prophet ﷺ said, tell people about the message, even if it's just one ayah. Convey the message, even if it's just one ayah. Because we have to call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every person, whether you're a businessman, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a scholar, whether you're a hafiz, you have a responsibility to call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your own respective field. Maybe it's not by giving da'wah, maybe it's you're fasting, you eat with your co-workers, and shortly after they see you go pray, and slowly your character will change them. But we shouldn't be out here purposeless. We shouldn't be out here living for ourselves and our egos. We need to follow the examples of the great Muslim leaders. So I just thought this was one thing that was really on my mind lately. Our history seems to be hidden from us. Our history seems to be covered from us. And if people really knew about all the great things, you know, all these shows where you see, I was actually talking to my cousin. It was great. I hadn't seen him in a long time, and he's a die-hard Dragon Ball Z fan. And I'm not actually too detailed in Dragon Ball Z, but I do know a lot of things about the show. And in the show, Vegeta, he's the chosen one. He is the Prince of all Saiyans, and he is supposed to be the one who is going to fight and be the best, and he's supposed to be it. But it ends up being Goku, and in that show there's something special. They show you the thoughts of the people. And Vegeta, he is naturally the best. He's the chosen one, so to speak. But whenever Goku gets stronger than him, he's saying, oh, I wish it wouldn't happen to him. I'm going to destroy him. I'm going to do the most and get better than him. And he's having narcissistic, egotistical, negative thoughts. And when Vegeta gets stronger than Goku, he's the regular common village boy, you know, the regular wholesome guy. He's saying, oh, I'm so proud of you, Vegeta. I wish you'd get stronger. You've done a great job today. And this is why Goku is stronger than Vegeta, because of his thoughts, you know, the power and quality of thoughts. Thoughts determine your reality. Nothing is real except what you are thinking. And if you can control your mind, which on this channel I'm sure you're going to get into, because when I first got with my Shaykh Wasim Sadiq, I could not control my mind. If I was anxious, my mind was going rapid. If I was sad and depressed, I'm only thinking sad and depressed. And the earliest parts of the journey were to control your thoughts. If you could think blue when you wanted to think blue, and you could think about green when you wanted to think green, then you would be okay. Because if you can control your thoughts, you can control everything. And if you can't control your thoughts, you can't control anything. This is just a basic rule of life. Controlling our mind. You know, there are going to be days that are with us, and there's going to be days that are against us. But you need to have your mind intact and focus. And this is something we struggle with so much as people because of the advancements in technology. We have iPhones, we have Instagram, we have TikTok, and we have 1 minute and we scroll. After 1 minute, we're bored. Sometime in between the 1 minute, 10 seconds, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that. And you have to think, the pious predecessors, they didn't have phones. They didn't have these disruptions. They used to stand all night and pray the Quran in one rak'ah because they had focus. They had tunnel vision. They knew what they wanted. They knew how they were going to do it. There was clarity. And it goes on to a second lesson that my sheikh taught me, that anything you believe will be. The power of belief. There's a story where Khalid ibn Walid, radiallahu anhu, he's with some other military commanders, I believe, and they all drink poison. And Khalid ibn Walid survives. Or maybe he drank poison and they watched him. Can't remember exactly how it went, but he survives. And why? Because he truly, wholeheartedly, 100% believed that he would not die. And something happens to your brain chemistry. Something is going on from the inside when you have not even one doubt. And you know, today, the people or the powers that be, the enemies of Islam, they believe that they will have a utopia and that they will get everything that they want on this life. And it's true because they believe in it wholeheartedly. But we as Muslims, we have the promise of akhirah, an afterlife. And if we wholeheartedly believe in it, we will get what we believe in. And this is just on the point of belief. You know, this is one key thing. Whatever you're working towards, you need to believe in it wholeheartedly. You shouldn't have any doubts about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You shouldn't have any doubts about al-Islam being the right religion. And if you do, there should be somebody you could talk to, because you need to remove that 1% of doubts. You should never have a negative thought about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because everything he did was divine. It was inspired by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And me, my sheikhs, everybody around me, we are upon the belief that there is some wisdom in every one of his actions, and it's inspired by Allah. The way he was with his family, the way he used to joke without making fun of people directly, the way he wouldn't call people by offensive nicknames, names. My journey started, my sheikh told me to start telling everyone to call me Umar Headar again. And I was thinking, this is crazy. He said, change all your accounts, all your profiles, and establish nisba. And I told him, what is nisba? I never heard of this thing. And nisba is an Arabic word, and it means to have some type of connection. And I said, what kind of connection do you want me to have with this name? The person is too grand for me to associate my name with. As is Haydar, it's the war title of Hazrat Ali radiallahu an. And I'm saying, what kind of nisba I can have with this? He said, just think about them when you hear this name. Just give a 1 second thought. Relate your name to the names of these amazing personalities, monumental figures, legends, commanders of the faithful. I was thinking, wow, okay, no problem. I guess I'll try it. I started doing it, and in 2 weeks, my life was totally different. I swear to you, in 2 weeks, my life was totally different. And it makes you think, Muslims and our names. You know, there's a hadith, again, I'm going to paraphrase, where the Prophet ﷺ, he said, one of the greatest days in a man's life is the day that he names his son. He gives him the title in which he will be called, responded to, and he gives him this name in hopes he will be like that. A man names his son Salih in hopes that he'll be righteous. A man will name his son Abdul Aziz in hopes he'll be a slave to the Aziz. And all Muslim names, they all have something special in them. You know, every name is almost a Qur'ani name, a name that's mentioned in ahadith, a name of a companion, radiallahu an, a name of a female companion, and the list goes on and on. It's very rare you're going to meet somebody who has a name meaningless in al-Islam. And the names we have are tremendous. We have people in our communities named Ibrahim, we have Sulaymans, we have, you know, Abdurrahmans, we have so many great names. And if we were to connect with these names, if we were to stop using nicknames like I used to call myself Uzi, and I know some Muhammads who call themselves Mo, we are really giving ourselves the short end of the stick. You know, when you really think about Islamic names, it's a very deep knowledge. It's a very deep topic as well, and it's a big interest of mine. Because in the Quran, how many times are we always hearing about the sifat of Allah? You know, he's Aziz or Rahim. Sometimes he's Ghafur and Halim. Sometimes, but it's almost always two. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. And you're thinking about these names, and there's an interesting concept that caught my mind very early in this journey, was that there was a secret name of Allah, the Isma al-Azam. And I was thinking, come on, man, where are all these secrets coming from? Alif, Lam, Mim, nobody knows what this means. Now there's a secret name of Allah. Isa alayhi salam brought people back from the dead with this name. The throne traveled with this name. In the beginning, I was trying to find it very hard with all the variables. But first of all, with 99 names, it's almost impossible. Second of all, it's still, you know, mathematically, if I could find it, I would. I'm still thinking how I'll get it one day, but it was just such an interesting concept. You know, he taught Adam alayhi salam the names of all things. The names. You know, blessed is the name of your Lord. You know, so remember the name of your Lord. The name, the name, the name. You know, there's hadith, and in Surah Hujurat, they talk about don't call Muslims by offensive nicknames. You know, don't call each other by these type of nicknames that we use today. You know, because great, and how much I knew earlier inside these names. All we have to do with is establish some connection with them. All we have to do. It's an amazing thing. But going back to what I was just speaking about that's on my mind lately, Islam is just such a powerful thing, you know? When I first was reading the last ayahs of Surah Baqarah, the translation of the last bit of the last ayah, it was, give us victory against those who stand against the faith. You know? Give us victory over those who stand against the faith. And it made me think that in our time, you either stand with the faith or you stand against the faith. And we should think about it. What do we represent? Are we living this worldly life? Are we posting sports teams and all these things on our platforms? I always think when I first heard Surah A'la, Sabbih Hisma Rabbikal A'la, it's a command and it says, exalt the name of your Lord Most High. And I used to always think about how this thing is called a platform. And do we ever put Allah on it? Do we ever? We put everything but Allah on it. We put jewelry on it. We put Gucci on it. We put everything but Allah on it. And that's just something that was huge to me on my journey. I remember when I was memorizing the Quran, I still don't have the answer for this today, but when I memorized Surah Al-A'la, it was the biggest achievement of my life. I don't know why. And I did a lot of research on it. And maybe I'll talk a little bit about it right now, if that's all right with the producing team, because it might go a little long, but Surah Al-A'la, when I was doing it, I couldn't figure out why this was the greatest achievement. I was like almost done with just one. I was doing a lot of things and I know so much more. And why does this one thing feel so huge?